Hello and welcome to Movies I Wish I Made. My name's Hayley Devlin. I am a producer.
The films I wish I made.
Oh shit, alright.
Don't fuck up our title. Right out of the gate.
It's fine. I wasn't even facing the microphone. Alright. Hello and welcome to Films I Wish...
Okay,
Fuck.
The films I wish I made. That's the name of the fucking podcast. The films I wish I made.
Is this gonna be like a Keanu thing where they has to be named John Wick because I can't remember the title of the goddamn podcast?
No, because I already did the first episode introduction.
All right. Hello and welcome to the I was gonna say the films. That's not a word. I am gonna get this right.
Where's your mic? I can't even see it.
It's right here.
Oh, okay.
Off camera.
Oh, gotcha. I'm supposed to be looking at you. I don't know why it's tits at a mic. Welcome to the podcast, Tits at a Mic.
That could be our next podcast, Tits and a Mic. I mean, that's a title I can remember, so that's a start.
Yeah, true.
All right. Hello, welcome back to the films I wish I made. Did I get that title right?
You did, but I...
Now I gotta do it again. I didn't have the confidence.
No, that's fine. We'll just keep going from here.
All right, at least our sound is synced. All right. Hello and welcome to the films I wish I made. My name's Hayley. I'm a producer. I'm here with Ryan.
I am Ryan Rachall. Yes, that is who I am.
Ryan's a filmmaker. If you want to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, my handle is Spooky Kook Hayley.
And I am at Ryan Rachall. Or you can follow the production company at Daakins Productions. That's Daakins.
Definitely follow us there. Stay in contact. Today we're going to be talking about Jeepers Creepers. It's a horror film. Came out in 2001. It was Justin Long's first major role. We also have Gina Phillips starring. Jonathan Breck as the Creeper, directed by Victor Salva. Who are some other heavy players in this?
I don't think there are.
I loved the cinematography. No, I want to name the cinematographer because I'm going to talk about him a lot. I wrote his name down here.
Fair enough.
It's hard to pronounce, so I need to look at it while I'm saying it. It was French or something.
Oh, those French cinematographers.
Sorry, I gotta get my notes in order.
It's fine. We're off to a lovely start.
You're gonna cut out this little part where I had to search for his name, right?
I'm not cutting any of this out. You know what Justin Long was in before this?
What?
He had a small role in Galaxy Quest.
He was a Galaxy Quest. He was small in that, but he had a damn good job at that. That's actually part of the reason why he was cast in this film. Because Victor Salva liked what he did in Galaxy Quest. And I was like, that's the kid.
Are you serious?
Galaxy Quest kid. I'm going to put him in my movie.
Nice.
And that's how I imagine Victor Salva talks. I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's essentially. Yeah. So then, you have this movie. It's Justin Long's first major starring role. And, he knocks it out of the ballpark, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But
Justin Long carries this film on his back for sure.
He really does, though, with how lovable he is.
Yeah, but his performance is the best in the entire film. No one else is as good as him in this film.
No, they really aren't.
Yeah, that's not to knock anyone, but here's the thing. When you're doing a horror film, it's not necessarily low budget, but the budget goes to other things like makeup and effects and your creature and all sorts of practicals that you want to do, especially from this time period. No CGI. They've got some stunts, so you don't put a lot of money and talent.
No.
So the fact that Justin Long is in this movie is a godsend for this movie. He was at the beginning of his career, but obviously very talented, and obviously he went on to do much bigger things.
Yeah.
So the proof is in the pudding there.
I'm so grateful to have him in this film because without him, you don't have Jeepers Creepers because he has so much life in this movie, and he also has so much pain. Like he shows everything on his face so well that moments that could have come off as cheesy are won, and they're won so hard just because of him. The cinematographer Don E. Fauntleroy. So yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to the cinematographer because so many of the moments in this movie that are really big wins are because of the camera work. The camera work in this film doesn't get enough credit. It's a large part of why I picked it.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, this is not a film I've gone back to since I originally saw it.
Spoiler alert. This is going to be filled with spoilers.
Hey everyone, if you haven't seen
Jeepers Creepers,
make sure you go check out the official release. These are great films that everyone should see. Frankly, if you haven't, you're really missing out. So go watch the movie and then come back to the films I wish I made.
Or the curse of spoilers will befall you for 100 years.
So let me start out by summarizing the film in case anybody's rusty. This is Derry and his older sister Trish. They're taking the scenic route home from college. They're on spring break. They're in the middle of nowhere, really far out there. Trish is having problems with the guy she's dating, so she wanted to take the long route home, enjoy the countryside. But things quickly take a turn for the worse when they run into the creeper on the road. And
Oh yeah.
they have a road rage battle, and then later on, they see the guy dumping bodies down a pipe, and that's when things just cascade out of control and their lives are changed forever.
Very changed.
They find this monster that they just can't shake, and then the monster is just determined to kill them. And it's just after that, them versus the monster.
I get major Duel vibes, especially in the initial run-in with the creeper in the truck. It's I think very heavily inspired by Steven Spielberg's Duel. Just the whole menacing giant truck about to mow you down, and you think it's gonna go that route, but it a lot of other things happen and it develops so much more.
And the horror from that comes from how it's shot. The film opens up on this big wide shot, and you could see their car far off in the distance in this desolate highway. And, the camera pans, as they're coming up on a turn in the highway, and you see the car, and the car takes forever to get to you, really establishing how lonesome this road is. The camera turns the road into a character itself with how it films this. And then they're in this old car with one of those big, clear, easy to see through back windshields. And they're driving, and we hear the brother sister chitter chatter, really showing that they're true people, real problems, good character development. I really love the conversations that they're having there. But, essentially, Derry and his older sister, they're playing these games on the highway. They see a license plate. Derry thinks it's gay fever. They get up a bit closer. Trish says it's sexy forever. And she makes Derry look like an idiot. And it's a really fun moment. And, after
she's the smart one.
Right? So after that really fun moment, it takes a quick, dark turn. And we have one of my most favorite camera shots of any horror movie ever filmed. The RV that they were behind turns off the highway, and in the very, very, very far distance, we get our first glimpse of that creepy, bone-chilling vehicle. It is just the most awful thing you've ever seen, but it's out of focus at this point, but you could see so clearly through that back windshield in this car. And even though we were just shown how big, how far away that car must be because they established how big this highway is,
Yeah.
you just slowly see it come up on them and faster and faster and faster. And then right when it's about to just be in the back seat of their car, it's in full focus and you hear that haunting horn. That horn sound is so creepy. That
Yeah, it's a real, I love that shot too. It's a slow burn.
it is.
You know it's coming, and it's there's a lot of tension there because they have no idea what is upon them.
Yeah.
And you as the audience member are forced to just stew in it
Yes.
until they're suddenly startled by the horn. For them, that truck basically teleports behind them, and they play it really well too.
They do. That makes it so horrific. And that just sets it up right from there that oof, it hits you in the gut that moment. I love it so much. Um, but this film's actually special to me for a multitude of reasons. I think it's the first horror film of this time that stands out because it wasn't a slasher. Kevin Williamson was so big for so many years in a row there with all the Scream movies. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend. It was that time period we had so many of those, or The Faculty. It was
Yeah.
all very teeny,
Cookie cutter kill teenagers.
very teen, slashy, cookie cutter. I mean, The Faculty's not a slasher, but they all had that same feel.
Yeah.
And this one really broke that mold. It felt like we were entering a new era of horror, which is why it stands out to me so much. It was just a notable breakout. It was a notable change. It had let us know that chapter was ending, for me at least. So that's why this means so much to me. And again, I was young. This was one of those movies where I found it just from scrolling through the channels, and it was on HBO one night, and I caught the tail end of it, and I was like, ooh. And I was like, well, I need to see this thing, the whole thing. And it was just one of those movies where I returned to it again and again. It didn't matter what part I was picking up at. If it was on TV, I would watch it. And it was just a film that cemented my love for horror. It really, it just meant so much to me. There's something weird and comforting about horror for me. When I watch a horror film, it's like being wrapped up in a warm blanket. I don't know why, but it's just, for me, horror films more than anything else really take me out of reality, and I watch TV to get out of reality.
Yeah, I remember, I guess when this came out, I was 13. And I remember renting it on DVD. I'm pretty sure from Blockbuster. R.I.P. Blockbuster.
I remember that.
And I really enjoyed it. I remember liking it a lot, but this is now my second time watching it for the podcast. So I've only seen it twice in total. It was never something I felt like I needed to go back to. Interestingly enough, I think it has to do with just the way the story is told. It's like a mystery, and I was on the edge of my seat, wanting to know more, wanting to have these questions answered. And once they were answered, I didn't feel like I need to go back and rewatch the movie necessarily. And it was funny because all these years have passed, and I very vividly still remember the key moments that, for me, make this film uh phenomenal. So to
Right.
know that all those decades went by and I still pretty much remembered the beats and didn't really forget anything important, that it's a testament to how much this film sticks with you and not just from constantly rewatching.
It does. And it has some big beats in it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
The big wins here, I think, in this film are really big wins. I think going back, it definitely has moments where it loses its funk. It almost feels like you're watching a different movie all of a sudden. But the parts that it wins, the parts that are iconic and stick with people, are shot so well, and they're so horrifying. I think that's why this is still a big film in the horror community. A lot of people like it. A lot of people like the sequel. I don't want to talk about the third movie, and we're not going to go there because
Yeah, no,
um,
I remember when you were so
but
excited when they're like, "There's a Jeepers Creepers 3," and I was like, "Oh no, this is not."
yeah, it doesn't feel like a Jeepers Creepers movie, and I watched part of it. It tore my heart out.
Yeah, it's a bad movie. What can you do?
Don't watch it.
I love the sequel. I love the sequel. That one has more excitement in it, and it's not about the mystery because you have a lot of answers already.
Yeah.
So I feel like they embraced what we already knew, and so I felt like that one had more rewatchability. I actually have seen Jeepers Creepers 2 a handful of times, at least
Yeah.
4 or 5 times. So
I've seen it a lot. If that's on TV and I'm scrolling through, I will watch Jeepers Creepers 2. If it's, I can't figure out what to watch, I'll watch Jeepers Creepers 2 on Netflix, whatever it's on. I love the second one a lot too. Having said that, going back to the original, it feels like when I watch this movie, the first 30 minutes feel like a different movie to me than the last hour. And I think it's when they were shooting it, going back to the cinematography, when they're out in those fields in Florida, the whole first 30 minutes are actually daylight. I mean, aside from Derek, when he goes underground. But I think what was so interesting is that this movie felt so scary. It was so hair raising, even though it's sunny out and everything's green and it looks like everything should be happy. I think that really stuck with me because it felt real. It felt like when horror really happens to people in real life, when something terrible happens, the world doesn't wait for it to be nighttime. It doesn't wait for it to be a stormy day. Like if something bad's gonna happen to you, it'll just happen.
Right, and it's not lit perfectly with like a shadow across your face. Like you're just out in the elements.
Exactly. Yeah. Getting back to that scene, after we hear those horns, just the fear and panic that goes into Derry and his sister, and they're swerving all over the road, and that horn just won't stop, and they're like, "Go around me, go around me!" Just the terror in Justin Long's voice sells that so well, and it's such a reversal from the pure, happy, silly moment they were just having together, and just watching the car do that. And then suddenly it does get around them and you see it speeding off into the distance, just showing you how fast it goes. I thought there were a lot of interesting camera angles in there. I thought it was shot well. I thought the way they handled that, I think a lot of the fear was added by the camera angles and shooting that they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we were saying like some things haven't aged well, while others, I mean, it has like it's I couldn't help but laugh when when she pulls out the quote unquote portable phone like,
Right.
that has no battery, and I'm just like, we weren't calling them cell phones in 2001, or what's going on here? But on top of that, like I mean, I guess it's cool because this is the time when you just barely had to worry about cell phones in horror movies,
It's true.
and it was fine to be like, oh, yeah, oh, it's prepaid and it doesn't have good range. Like nowadays, no one has range in the entire country in a horror movie, no matter where you are. You'd be in your own living room and your phone it will not work if you're in a horror movie.
Right.
You could be on Wi-Fi in a horror film, your phone won't work.
Yeah.
So this is like the beginning of that trope, really. I mean, as funny as it was, and it's funny to see her hold this little like, I don't know if it was like a Nokia brick phone, but it kind of looked like it.
Yeah.
But to hold this quote unquote portable phone and then just give birth to that trope of like, oh, our one source for an outside line to help, it doesn't work. Why me? Like,
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, I couldn't believe it was happening, but at the same time, I was like, obviously, we need to get this out of the way.
It was fun, but because at the time it felt fresh in this movie, it didn't feel worn out yet. And I think it's sold a lot better in this movie because of that. But it is interesting to point out. I think if I look back, this does have to be the first movie where I see that now that you point that out.
Yeah. I don't think I had seen it in a movie before.
It was definitely very telling at the time.
Cause like you were saying, Scream was before this, really, like taking over the 90s, and obviously everybody's on landlines in that series. I mean,
They were, except for Billy and
right, they had the cell phones, but it was just like, it was such a new thing, and it was like, how could he have possibly called you, but also been at your house? And it was just like,
That's true. That was a big thing in Scream.
yeah, it was like that was like the twist at the end, like, oh, they had portable phones.
Whoa, Billy and Stu had portable phones the whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I mean, it was
Fucking masterminds, man. So yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously it was a very new thing.
That's true. Another big win in this movie I want to talk about, where Justin Long just over the top knocks it out of the park. Had he not done well in this moment, or they'd casted somebody else, it wouldn't have been so strong. After they see the creeper dumping those bodies down the pipe, and he says he wants to go back. Once, Trish is holding his ankles, there's the rats, he falls down the pipe.
Are you talking about the slow motion shot?
The scene where he falls down the pipe and he's laying there and he wakes up.
Right, yeah.
And essentially the pipe becomes like a big flashlight. The pipe itself is shining a light on the horror that they've just uncovered.
Right, yeah.
Not only, okay, so two things I need to talk about here. The lighting is impeccable in this scene. That's what I like about the use of this pipe. It's a giant flashlight, but Justin Long's performance too is just, those two things together make it so special for me. I think that's what makes it a moment that really sticks with the viewer long after they've watched it. So he's down there, he's waking up, he stands up, you're looking up at Trish, she's at the top of the pipe. As he sees the body, Justin Long is backlit, but there's enough light in his face that you see the horror and dread. And then the camera pushes back and it reveals, wow, the bodies are down here. And you see the look on his face even clearer during that shot. And your stomach just drops. And it doesn't drop because, the sheets are super scary. I mean, it's because of Justin Long. That look on his face, it just puts like a rock in your stomach. So he goes over towards the bodies to try to see what's going on, and it grabs him by the ankle, and I love that jump scare right there.
Yeah, I forgot. That got me, obviously. I hadn't seen it in so long. That got me again.
Yeah, I mean, that makes your heart jump. But when Justin Long goes down to the body, he's being backlit still by that tunnel that's acting as a flashlight, which I really love. And the way his lip quivers and the way he's shaking and sweating and the absolute fear in his eyes as he opens up the sheets and realizes this guy's still alive. And then the guy is panicking and trying to show him, like, point to his stomach. And then you see Justin rip the sheet off his stomach and you realize this is a lot sicker than just murdering people.
Right. We're dealing with a madman.
Yeah.
Or, a serial killer, like a sick serial killer. It's funny when he falls into the sewer. I love the shot in slow motion. That's what I thought you were talking about. Like when he hits the ground, he sells that really well. But
oh, he does, yeah.
When he gets up, he's like, he's acting like his normal self. He's like bickering with his sister. He's like, I cut my hand, I lost my shoe. This sucks. This is lame. Like, what a dumb idea. But then when he turns around and that shot you're talking about, he realizes why he's down there again. It's like he forgot. He hit his head and he was just like, ow, my head hurts. When he turns around, he realizes, oh, right, there's a dead body down here. I'm like investigating a possible murder. And it all becomes so much more real for him in that moment, because he was talking big when they were in that field. He was saying, when we should go back, we should see if they're okay, see if they need help. And that's easier said than done, because when he's there, he just doesn't know what to do. He's ill-equipped to deal with this situation.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right, he sells it perfectly. And that poor guy who can't speak, who's been cut up.
Yeah. And that's just so sick too. And I think it's so unexpected on your first watch when you watch this movie and see that, oh, this is a person who's still alive and there's a cut down the center of their body and something's been taken out and they're stapled back together. I mean, that sucks the wind out of your lungs. It's a hard watch. And what I think is interesting though, with how many times I've seen this movie, if you look at Derry's face, when they cut to him, he's being backlit and it kind of creates a halo around his head. Like he's an angel for going back there to try to save these people. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to do camera wise. I thought it was just a really nice touch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
But yeah, I don't think that scene would have been the same without Justin Long.
No, definitely not. I mean, you get a hack actor in there and you're just like, come on, let's get to the murder. But this is like you're connecting with him and his panic and sympathy for this victim he found. And this is why I was talking about the mystery of the film, is because on your first viewing, when you come across this, you don't know what's going on. This person's been cut, something's been taken, obviously. They've been stitched back together, like you said. And you don't know why, and you're wondering why. Is this like some sort of black market, organ donor situation? Like, what is happening here? And they do it very well where they make you ask questions, but they make you try to figure out the answers. They give you time to try to figure out the answers. And then they do actually answer all the questions they ask or they make you ask.
That's true.
Whereas, some films really drop the ball there and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Like it's just we're making a movie."
Right.
And like that doesn't really matter. That was just so we could do this scene or set this up. And this film doesn't do that at any point. It sets things up and it knocks them down the whole way through.
That's very true. I think that's what makes it so satisfying too. And then another fun thing that I noticed in this scene is that Derry picks up a flashlight after that person dies. And the flashlight is almost like a mini tunnel. Yeah, I don't know if there was meant to be symbolism there, but he walks into the room that's supposed to be it's House of Pain. That's what the woman calls it later in the film.
Yeah, could have had a better name.
He walks into the next room where all the bodies are sewn along the walls, and he doesn't even notice it until he goes to tie his shoe, and he dips down, and the audience sees it first. He puts the flashlight under his arm, and then the flashlight behind him reveals this really sick thing, where all these bodies are sewn together, like as he says later in the film, like a fucked up Sistine Chapel. And I thought that was a really cool reveal.
Yeah, it's a great reveal.
And I thought it was a really fun use of light.
Oh yeah, the way they slowly tilt up and open the aperture up just ever so slightly. It's just a very gradual exposing the image brighter so that you can actually make out the details in the wall that you couldn't originally.
It is. It was like the cinematographer was trying to mimic a person's eyes adjusting to the dark.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
That was such a nice touch. And there's a lot of small, nice touches like that to the cinematography in this film that don't get enough credit just because it's a horror film. But I think they add a lot to the fear and to the beauty of this film, just the beauty and how it's shot. But I just really love that. A lot of subtle touches that you should watch if you're going to rewatch this after the podcast.
Yeah, which you should. Rewatch all the movies before and after every episode.
Yes.
I did think it was pretty stupid that he was like, "Hey, hang me upside down so I can get a better look in this pipe." Like that was like,
yeah.
I was like, why would you do that, bro? Like, I thought you were gonna climb down like a boss, but instead he's like, "I've got an idea."
It was not well thought out.
Yeah, hold me upside down so that you can drop me headfirst into a fucking tunnel that I have no idea what's below. Like,
right. I mean, yeah, that did not work out well.
Yeah, obviously your sister isn't like the best bet to hold you steady in a damn tunnel upside down.
Definitely. And it's like, Justin Long's not fat, but you look at him in that movie and it's like, what did he think he was going to do? He doesn't look like he has the core strength to get himself back up from that.
No, he doesn't.
Anyways, had she not even dropped him, I think about that a lot.
What was the plan? Because he was fully extended with no way to get back up. Like,
yeah, and it was slippery and wet.
She must do Pilates. Oh God.
It was a very creepy church, though. I mean, a great shooting location. Whoever found that was a big win.
Yeah, I wish we would have spent more time inside that church.
That is one regret I have about this movie, is that I have always wondered what was inside that church and how creepy it must have been.
Right, because they don't really say if the creeper lived in that church or what.
No. That's something I'll get back to later. Definitely something I would have changed. I don't know if I would have put it in that part of the movie, but we would have gone in that church had I, had a hand in this. But so now we're at the point where it turns into a different movie at this point. I think the first 30 minutes are the strongest. They're iconic. They're what everybody remembers about this movie so vividly. And then after the pipe scene, they go to that diner. And it starts to feel like a different film, I think, at that point.
Right.
Primarily, the light starts to dim a lot. And they spent so much time and so much hard work establishing how desolate it is. And then in the middle of nowhere, even though the parking lot's empty, they get to this diner that's fully packed, which doesn't hold up for me.
Yeah, I
Um,
I love the look on everyone's face though. They're just like, "What's wrong? Like, is it that serious? Jesus!" Like, it's just such a small
they are
town.
like that. They're
Yeah,
like, this ruined my meal.
yeah,
I was trying to have a nice evening.
yeah.
like,
They just don't
it's
give a
terrible.
shit. These two teenagers are like, "Help us!" And they're just like, "Well, I'm eating flapjacks, so I can only do one thing at a time now, and these flapjacks are mighty tasty." Like, that's everyone's vibe in that diner.
That's definitely true.
Yeah, the whole town is like, "F you, I've got bigger fish to fry." Well, we all know about
That's
the Pain
yeah,
house, the House of Pain, so you just new in
yeah.
town.
Essentially, they're like, "Oh, you found out about that thing? Shrug. Let me
Yeah,
eat my chicken fried steak."
right. So, I mean,
You know,
it slows down here,
yeah,
but in a good way because this is where it's giving us time to like ask the try to figure out the answers to those questions, and that's what makes it so satisfying when it answers and it takes a left turn because at this point we don't think anything supernatural is going on.
that's true. Until that phone call happens.
Yeah, it's a little weird out of
When the
place.
psychic calls the diner,
Yeah.
that one felt really out of left field. I love it and I hate it at the same time because I love that actress. She's so heartwarming.
In the grand scheme, it makes some sense because we're in the supernatural world, so it's fine. You come to terms with it by the end of the movie, but it is so left field with us not understanding and having no inclination that there is anything supernatural in this movie yet. That you just like you don't even understand that she's a psychic in that scene. You just like, how does this lady know all this stuff about him? When was she seeing all of this? Did she witness any of this stuff? How did she know to call them there at that time?
Yeah,
So again, but that's another example of them making you ask questions and trying to figure out these answers. And eventually they do give you all the proper answers in good time. So it does feel rewarding. It's one of those films that doesn't let you get ahead of it. And that's kind of frustrating sometimes, especially if you're really good at watching movies.
no, that's true. That this film actually does do that very well. And I think that's why I liked it so much from the start because you are just kind of like, what the hell is going on? And it's really hard to do that. It's hard to write something where you're ahead of the audience with how many movies people watch nowadays. I mean, it's not an easy feat.
Right. Yeah, and it's even harder today.
And that's, on the other side of that, though, I mean, you could also argue that kind of felt like they were trying to cram too much into one movie.
Yeah,
There's a psychic and this weird monster. But
if anything, I wish they would have done more with the whole psychic element in the sequel. Maybe have that character come back.
yeah, when I watched the sequel, I was upset she wasn't in it because it's like she survived. She's still in that county and I like her a lot.
Right. Yeah, they could have done a lot more with the sequel. They could have brought the sister back as well. I mean, who knows? But
Right.
you know,
I like to think that they're actually happening in the same week or something because he only comes back every 23 years.
right.
And you look at the sequel and what Trish and Derry are wearing, and they're essentially kind of in the same time. So I almost wonder if it was within the same 23 days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Probably.
That's how I like to think of it.
Yeah. I mean, it only makes sense. It's not like the sequel takes place in the future.
No, it definitely wasn't 23 years later.
Yeah. I don't know when the third one takes place. They didn't, like that. It's like they threw that rule out the window.
Yeah,
So just another reason why they don't, you got to follow your lore.
you do.
If you set a mythos up, you got to stick to it. And so what I like about this one is that they give you those answers at the right times. Like they don't wait too long. Because even though it's kind of like only a writer can do this because they know what their story is. They know what information they need to give you, but then they can choose when to give it. Why is the movie called Jeepers Creepers? It's like you're halfway in or you're like 40 minutes in and she plays the song for him off on vinyl, The Psychic, you know?
Mhm.
When you hear that song, and it's so weird because you don't understand she's a psychic, you don't understand what she's trying to warn him of. You don't understand that she's saying, "I had a vision." This song is part of that vision, right? So you need to
Right.
so that's why you're so confused, but on purpose, because it's on the radio later. There's a cover of it on the radio,
Right.
and he's like, "Oh, that's the song. That's the song. We're in danger." Blah 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 blah. And but not until you get to the police station where she's like, "No, that wasn't my vision. It's playing on a phonograph. Like it's the version I played for you. It's exactly verbatim like that. That's the way it happens." And so then you get that ending that comes true because her visions, I guess, are never wrong. One of the last questions
Right.
that they answer, because she never specifically says, uh, yes, they always happen, or no, they don't always happen. We're given that answer with the last visuals of the film.
That was the last thing Trish said to Jezebel at the end. She says, "You never answered him. Are your dreams ever wrong? What did he mean?" Derry was screaming alone in the dark while that song played. And it's so painful for that woman. She just deflects. She can't even answer. She says, she says to Trish, "I'm just a crazy old woman."
Yeah.
That's all she is willing to say. She tried so hard to save them and kept, reiterating, "I see these visions, I see these visions." And then at the end, all she says is, "I'm just a crazy old woman," because it was just too painful for her to say it out loud that they're never wrong, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, she says things like, uh, "Don't you know how hard it is for me to tell you this, knowing it won't make a difference?" You know, things like that. She has dialogue here and there that hints to the fact that she understands her efforts to be futile.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to the character that she's still willing to go through all that trouble to try her best, knowing that she's still putting her life at risk.
I do think that's important about her character. One thing I wanted to jump back to, you were talking about when they hear the cover song. I love that scene when the cops are following them down the highway so much because Derry is screaming about the song. He's like, "This is the song, Trish. This is the song." He's playing it loud. And then
Yeah.
they go back to my favorite shot of using the back windshield to reveal information. And they are so caught up in this song, they have no clue. But we start to see the cop car behind them swerving. I mean, you see the first time we see the Jeeper himself and realize that he's not a man, realize he's something supernatural. Is when he's standing on top of that cop car, to me at least. And the first time we see him doing something supernatural is through that back windshield. And I thought that was a really good use.
Yeah. But it's not immediate. Even in that scene, it's not immediate that they show, "Oh, this is a creature." He lands on the car. You don't know that it can fly. You don't know how it got on top of the car. It pulls out like a battle axe. So you're like, "Well, this is a person with a weapon." I don't know, maybe they're really agile or whatever. But then as that scene progresses, you realize, yeah, this is something else. This is not just a regular guy, because he was not flying off the car as it swerves,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
no, it was so gradual that they reveal his different abilities and just what a monster he really is.
right, right. I mean, it's also comical. It's a comical scene. Like it's one of the scenes where they embrace the camp.
Yes, they do.
They tote that line, and you're not sure in some scenes. Like certain characters seem campy. Justin Long always seems grounded to me. He always seems like he's really being honest with his portrayal.
Yeah.
But this is one of those scenes that is full camp. Everybody's in on it. Like Justin Long is yelling at the top of his lungs because he's trying to be like, "This is the song." Like he's like blasting the song just so he can yell over it like, "This is the song." And obviously
Yeah.
that's so they can't hear any of the craziness going on behind them. But
Yeah.
the craziness behind them is filmed comedically in that wide shot.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, you see the car swerving all around as they're yelling in the foreground, like, "This is the thing she was talking about." While this thing is just like rodeo riding this cop car,
Yeah.
like, like it's not a big deal. And then obviously the way it dismembers the cops and like decapitates the cops and like plays with the head and eats the tongue. Like it's yeah, but like they sell it like it's kissing the severed head when really it's like eating the tongue. It's it's
Yeah.
all just,
So over the top.
over the top camp, and it's awesome. It's amazing.
And it went from being so grounded to, oh, now we're here. And I love it that, it was an 80s cover of the song when the camp comes in, it was so fitting. And then, when he is making out with the severed head before he bites off his tongue, that billboard behind them, it's for a butcher shop.
I didn't even
I don't know
catch
if you
that.
caught that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the billboard behind the creature says tastes so darn good, and it is a butcher billboard, and it's like 1950s. It's a really over the top scene, and they did not tone down anything. Like they were going for over the top for sure.
Yeah. Man. Do you want to get to the ending of the film, or did you have more to talk about the journey there?
One more thing I want to talk. You can't not mention the cat lady.
Oh, of course. Oh, I almost forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the cat lady. I felt so bad for her.
Oh God,
I hate them for getting her killed. She was awesome.
I know. She's like, "What the hell did you bring to my house?"
Yeah.
She's like, "I don't want the government around here." She was
Yeah.
badass, like in
Yeah.
every single sense. I mean, she loves cats. She sits alone in the dark listening to the radio. She doesn't care about anybody.
Yeah.
She's all alone. And she was like, "All right, well, I guess you could use the telephone."
She don't have a phone until she was like, all right, but don't let them know my address. Like,
I know. I love it. Off the grid cat lady is one of the best parts of the movie.
yeah.
And it was foretold. The lady, the psychic, was like, "Oh, the cats. Have you seen the cats yet? They're a big
Right.
deal." And Justin Long's starting to put things together in his head, and I just thought it was really fun because she's like, "Anybody else with you?"
You know, she reminds me of that one old gambling lady from Futurama.
She's like that. She looks like the cat lady from The Simpsons almost.
Yeah, same.
I both Matt Groening, but
Yeah, of course. It's the
um,
same character, let's be real.
yeah. But I love it when she grabs her shotgun and she uses her exploding buckshot, the stuff
Right.
that's famous for causing crazy wildfires, to shoot at something in her dry cornfield.
I didn't think about all that, but yeah, it's pretty over the top when she blows the fucking thing up.
Yeah, that blowing up the scarecrow thing was so over the top, and it was
Yeah.
so fun. And I was like, yeah, cat
What
lady.
did she blow up though? Because like it was gone. Like it moves out of the way, but the way they shot it is like she blew it up. Like it happened so fast. Because there's no way her scarecrow exploded like that.
No, I think it was meant to be the scarecrow. I think he was actually in front of the scarecrow blocking it rather than having ripped it down instead like that.
Yeah, I guess. It's just the way it happened so fast. It's almost like they blew
Yeah.
up a dummy of the creeper, but then they cut to the creeper like, no, it moved and it's not there. It's like it had an
Yeah.
after image. It moved so fast. I don't know. It was weird.
It almost seems like a mistake, but the moment's so fun, I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck it. Like, let's blow it
Yeah.
up, but it healed really quick. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did feel bad for her kicking the bucket, all because of these stupid teenagers who pissed off the creeper. But, she got a couple shots in and she was about that life, and she went out like she lived.
She did. I will never forget Cat Lady. That was always has a place in my heart. So some fun trivia I wanted to go over just before I talk about what I would do differently. Francis Ford Coppola executive produced this movie.
Wow.
Not expected.
Yeah, I didn't even pay attention to that in the credits. I really didn't notice that at all.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't notice. I wasn't looking for it.
I thought that was wild. When I found that out, I was trying to dig more about how or why. I guess he was just a longtime mentor of Victor Salva. So MGM actually wanted more bankable names to play the two leads in this film. But Francis Ford Coppola used his clout to just be like, nope, we're sticking with Justin Long and Gina Phillips. And he actually executive produced the second one too.
Nice.
Another fun trivia, the pissing scene. When they get out of the car to pee.
Yeah, it's such a weird, cringy scene.
It is. It's weird. I mean, obviously, something you got to do on road trips. I guess it shows how desolate it was that you just got to pee in this field. There's no bathrooms.
Yeah, but I wouldn't talk to my sister while I did it.
No, no. Well, here's where it gets worse. Apparently, Justin Long was actually peeing.
Wow,
It wasn't faked.
wow, that's weird. That's what the fuck?
I know, right?
So we're watching scat now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're literally watching Justin Long pee, so.
We're always watching stuff like that, and we're just like, yeah, that's not real though. That's just some yellow water. Like, and that just to know that, like, no, I'm really watching Justin Long pee right now. That's so fucking weird to know. Thanks, Hayley.
Shout out to the cinematographer though. The way that piss is backlit, it was really beautiful.
It's got a nice warm vibrance to it.
He was only so hydrated. How many takes could they really do? They probably just, in one shot, the way, he tilts up the camera, it's backlit. I mean,
yeah, you gotta nail that focus pull on the piss.
One and we're done. He nailed it. So,
Yeah, you miss the focus on that piss shot. That takes a while to reset.
It does. That does take a very long while to reset, especially with how golden it was, too. You can't get the clear piss. It's just not the same.
Golden showers during the golden hour.
I know, a new meaning to golden hour, huh?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
Okay, any other interesting trivia that isn't scat related?
There is. I'm going to tie this into how I would have done it differently.
Okay, sure.
I have big problems with the diner scene.
Okay.
It needs to be more empty. I don't like there being that many people there. I think it's weird that many people were also dining that long, that it's all the same people in the diner, after the cops get there and the sun's gone down. I mean, that scene has a lot of problems. It's not working. I think a creepier diner with maybe just a bar, maybe like 5 people in there would have been a lot better. It would have helped keep that atmosphere of, oh, this area is still desolate.
Right. They definitely got away from that. They were like, they're in a town now.
Yeah. And I didn't like that. I just didn't like that. And I thought it was unbelievable that there would be a community that big around where this thing's killing people.
Well, it's got to get bodies.
It needed to be more desolate.
Yeah.
As much as I love her, sadly, I would get rid of the psychic woman. And that's only because I would do major changing to the end here.
Yeah. It's definitely something you could do differently.
And I think especially since, she doesn't even have a presence in the sequel. And I think it just didn't bring enough to the film. Like, it's sad, but in a sense, she's only there to foreshadow stuff. I mean, it feels like there's too much going on for me. We have the creeper, we have the psychic woman. She keeps foreshadowing, Derry's awful death, but I just don't think it's needed.
Would you foreshadow things still? Like, or how would you foreshadow, or how would you communicate the vague information about the creeper to your main characters? Because that's really what the purpose she serves.
Yeah, I think it can be done in a number of different ways. I think maybe somebody at the diner could tell them more about the urban legend. Like there is one person at the diner who believes them. I think that might have fit in a bit better than the weird phone call.
Yeah, I can see that.
Another thing, I don't like the cop scene at the end. That's where it starts to get kind of ridiculous and feel like a completely different movie than what I started watching.
Oh, it's super camp when they get to the police department.
Wow, I love it. I loved it at the time when I first watched it. I had actually only seen the cop, blowout ending, and that was what made me want to go back and watch the whole movie. But I think the highway plays such an iconic role in this movie. It needs to end on the highway. I don't think it should end with a whole bunch of people, in a cop station. It feels like we got somewhere so far away from where we started.
It's pretty funny. They end up in a room with just like everyone's like all the cops are swatted up, ready to go to war, and this thing is just like completely out in the open, and then just flies away with the main character.
Especially because even this thing's been like a legend for so many years. Maybe not the actual monster itself, but that desolate highway being scary. Nobody knows why people go missing on that highway. You know, Trish says at the beginning, you know, once I heard that story, I always thought this would be the highway I died on. And it's, you know, for that thing to suddenly be okay with revealing its identity to that many people, it's like, you know, it's only really gotten away with being able to kill people on that highway for so long because it kind of stays hidden, I would assume, you
Right.
know? So I don't understand. Oh, let 30, 40 cops see me and I'm going to eat these prisoners, blah, 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 just because I want dairy. I mean,
Yeah.
the film really starts to get away from itself there.
I mean, it does pack up and move to a new location. Like, obviously, it burned it down. And so, who knows how long that thing has been doing what it does in various locations? Maybe it just packs up and moves on. And I mean, who would believe you if you
True.
saw that thing? It's probably gotten along just fine with being such an unbelievable creature that once it packs up and leaves and it burned down all the evidence, it's like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? But it could definitely ending on the road sounds like a much better ending to me. Like you could go to the police station, but still like get out of like they have to get out of there because the cops can't protect them from it, and then it could still end on the road.
I think Derry and Trish need to realize maybe information this new person would have given them at the diner. I would have liked to them to be like, you know what, we need to take this into our own hands. We can't let this horror go on. We can't let more people die. Like Derry chooses to be a hero. You know, they see that the cops can't stop it and they try to go back to where it lives at the church. I would have liked like a big showdown at the church with Derry and Trish to happen as like the climax.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, even for them not to get all home alone, but for them to maybe try to set a trap for it or something.
Yeah, set a trap for it. Find some way to try to kill it there, I think would have been really cool. We could have seen how creepy the church was. We could have found out more about the creeper inside that church. And then obviously in my version, the church wouldn't have burned down.
I assume so. Um, that sounds like a much better ending to me. I mean, it would be more powerful. And it also because Derry didn't really have any redeeming qualities. Like he wasn't a bad guy, but I was never convinced he was a good guy. And it was little things like when he fell in the hole and he said, if you see that truck coming, you get back to this hole and you yell down as loud as you can. It's like, if that truck is coming back, like, I mean, I'd imagine you tell your sister to like hightail it out of there and don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of line I would expect from a noble brother.
Oh,
That's
exactly.
kind of thing I would have said. I would have said, if you see that truck, you drive and you don't look back. Like, don't worry about me. Like, just take off. You go get help. I'll be fine.
That would have been stronger.
Yeah, but to say if you see the truck, come back to the hole and yell and let him know that we're here and like get yourself killed. I didn't like that. And
You're right.
so
Yeah, I didn't care for that much either.
yeah, she tries to save him by sacrificing herself at the end, but I didn't feel like it was earned. I didn't feel like he deserved that kind of sacrifice. Obviously, I get that you're siblings, but this whole movie, he hasn't really stepped up to be believable to me as like this amazing brother that you love.
That's true. So I think some sort of character change, yeah, where we could turn him into a hero. It just would have been stronger. And this is interesting because I was reading that millions of dollars were taken out of the budget, and Victor Salva had to scrap
Oh, wow.
so much of the script before shooting, and that at some point, Derry was actually supposed to get a hold of the Creeper's truck to have a showdown with the Creeper,
Oh, okay.
and he was going to crash it into a train, which I thought that would have been really cool. That would have been they should have kept that in the movie more so than the police
Yeah, that's way better.
precinct scene.
Well, that makes sense. I didn't know the
Yeah, but
budget was slashed. That's why they ended up sticking it at the police station. I guess they probably were going to leave the police station originally.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the main change, I think Derry needs to be turned into a hero and we need a different ending, maybe Derry stealing the Creeper's truck, and maybe that truck has some sort of special thing that can only kill the Creeper or something, and just maybe running the Creeper down on the highway, and then maybe at the house he found some special sword or something that could only kill the Creeper. I don't know. Just some sort of ending on the highway with cars. Derry's a hero. Maybe even Derry dies while he's trying to kill the creeper and they both die together. Just
Sacrifice style.
sacrifice, head on, you know, mano y mano sort of thing. I think would have been more powerful, especially with such a strong beginning.
Yeah.
Such a strong 30 minutes, and then it just kind of unravels the way it does. And I still love it, even as the way it is, but I think it could have been elevated to something so much more. Those few things have been done differently.
Right. It sounds like your version, if you were to ever reboot it, would definitely be a much more grittier, darker version that doesn't have all the camp of the original.
It would, and I find it odd that I would do that because I love camp so much, but I think I'm so absolutely obsessed with the first 30 minutes of this film. I adore it so much. It has such an impact on me. And there's no camp really in the first 30 minutes.
Right.
That when it took too long to add the camp, and I rather they have stuck to the feelings and the grittiness of those highway shots of the conflict and just it was just so strong. It felt so dark and serious in those first 30 minutes.
Did you ever see that deleted scene of when the creeper actually talks?
No, I didn't. Do you know where to watch that?
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but it's when he grabs the cat lady and he smells her or like looks around at Derry and he says something directly to him. I don't remember what the line was. It was forgettable, but it was like a joke basically, and it was just a dumb line, and it came out of left field.
She don't smell too good. There he is.
You could really tell the original vision was just to be like nuts, balls to the wall, like this is a campy, gory horror film. I think they realized they had something a little bit more on their hands than that, and so I feel like they dialed it back a little bit. They had one vision when they shot it, and I think that they had to cut that line because the creeper wasn't menacing at all after that. It was just like, oh, this guy's a jokester. Like, he's just an asshole. Like, he's an unstoppable asshole. Like, that's basically what it's
An unstoppable asshole.
yeah, it can't be stopped. Like, it's an asshole.
It's an asshole. Oh God, what do you even say after you kill Cat? Really, that moment is so sad. She's so uninvolved in this. They drag her into it just to die, but she was just having a lonely night, her and her cats, and that's when the creeper was gonna talk. I mean, ugh.
Yeah. They brought that mess there.
Yeah.
I love the back to the cinematography. I love how they use silhouettes in the police
They
station.
use that a lot.
Yeah, but especially in the police station when they're up against the glass, they're going into that room. It's where the two-way mirror is. That's a great scene with the
Oh, I
two-way
love that.
mirror, where
It
it's
really
just
is.
watching them on the other side. I feel like it would have been better if the creeper was in silhouettes in that scene also. Um, it's the end of the film though, and they're just like ready to show every inch of that creature that they possibly can. Uh, but yeah, it's great with just the way it's so dark and you get the right accents of light coming in from the outside through the window, but then you have them perfectly backlit. It's funny because you get on the other side where the creeper is and you can't hear anything, so sound isn't even an option. You're getting so little information, yet you have everything you need. They're arguing and fighting and yelling at each other. You can't hear any of that because you're on the other side of the two-way mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty awesome until you finally get that crazy scary moment where the creeper just bursts into the room because you're expecting it to come through that window because you know it's there, and then all of a sudden it just comes through the door like it's already walked around. You'd have no idea where this thing is. It's so fast.
That is terrifying. That moment, it certainly like makes you hold your breath because you're so scared for them because it's right there and they don't see it coming. And that's just such a recurring theme in this movie that the thing is right there and they just don't see it. Um, and it's just so close at that point towards the end. It's so heartbreaking to watch, and it's hard because you can't do anything for them. It's like one of those things, you're watching the horror movie and you're screaming, get out. It's that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me in this film.
He's in there.
Yeah, like it's a two-way mirror. He's watching you. How do you not know that? Like,
how can you not see what I see?
right? It's just the frustration. That scene, so frustrating to watch.
Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Yeah, and then its face opens up, and then it flies away with Justin Long.
Yeah.
And steals his eyes. That's what he wanted all along.
I think that's so iconic too when you see the hollowed out Justin Long and the song is playing at the end, and
Yeah.
Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? And we see the creeper puts his eyes up and they're Justin's eyes, they're brown, and it's just sad.
I would buy that hollowed out Justin Long if I could.
Yeah, what would you do to it?
Okay, I'd wear it. I'd wear it for Halloween. That's what I'd do with it.
Just wear it around.
I'd have him sign it first, and then I'd wear it to Halloween parties.
That'd be a good use of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is got to be sitting in somebody's house somewhere, I would hope.
It's plaster, though, so maybe I'd have to break the joints, and it would just be my naked Justin Long armor, and I could take it into battle.
Right. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I forgot to say I would do differently. I know that they got a lot of money cut out of their budget, but in its House of Pain, the bodies were too shiny. I thought they looked too fake. I think that could be redone to make them look more like preserved humans nowadays.
Yeah, that could be done better. I gave it a pass because they said it was, it was something was off with them. He had done something to them, and they don't say what.
That's true.
I kind of gave it a pass, like, oh, well, maybe that's the look that whatever he did to him to preserve him. That's what they could have been better. That's I'm not gonna argue with that. They definitely could have looked better. And then they would have been obviously more horrifying if they looked more passable.
Yeah.
Jeepers Creepers.
Definitely, worth watching. Love that movie. There are some things that would have changed.
Well, this is the films I wish I made, so how could you make something without making it a little bit more like yourself?
True.
Well, all right. Is that it? Are you satisfied with your conclusions?
I'm just doing a final look over because I love this film so much. I took 4 pages of notes before doing this here, so I just wanted to make sure I go over everything I loved. But I think that's it.
Well, you can email them if you
Yeah.
remember anything. She'll email you guys.
I'm willing to continue this discussion if anybody else wants to talk to me about it.
Yeah. just email me anytime, any day, any night.
Right? Email me anytime, any place.
Yeah.
Who knows? Without Jeepers Creepers, maybe we wouldn't have Dodgeball the way it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like this is one of those films that launched Justin Long's career. I mean, you never know if he was going to get another role after this. I guess he had one other movie before this. I've never heard of it before, like Happy Campers.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Never
that
heard of
movie.
it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's that and Galaxy Quest. So who knows if he would have gotten another big role had this not come along. And then,
True.
we wouldn't have gotten Tusk. And you make up your mind about that.
All right. I think that does it.
All right. Well, that's the podcast, guys. This is the films I wish I made. There was Jeepers Creepers for this episode. Again, you can follow us on the social medias. I'm at Ryan Rachall.
Spooky Kooky Hayley.
Oh, you can also follow our production company social, which is Daakins Productions. That's Daakins. Stay tuned, subscribe, all that good nonsense. We've got more films coming up. Our next one will be Eastern Promises. That's an awesome
Ooh.
gangster film that I fucking love, and I can't wait to get into that. So, yeah, have a good one, guys. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. The Films I Wish I Made is a Daakins production. Daakins Productions is a multimedia company that does more than just make content. We also make original art, such as comics and movies. But only with your support can we consistently thrive in the online arena of entertainment. Check out our Ko-fi page where you can access premium and exclusive content for the right price. Until next time.